Ladies and gentlemen, we hear the nice sound of the water and we feel the nice sun, so heaven is gracious to us, means peace will come. The day before the International Day of Peace, which is celebrated every year in the framework of the United Nations on the 21st of September. And it's celebrated since 1981. So the United Nations specially declared this day as the International Day of Peace. And why? Because it's the time when the UN General Assembly starts. So the spirit which should prevail in the UN General Assembly is a spirit of peace. And this year the theme of the International Day of Peace is cultivating a culture of peace. Culture of peace sounds like a very nice word, you know, because culture is nice and peace is nice. But it's a very dangerous phrase. Why? Because it means it is the opposite to something else. And this is a culture of fighting and war. And the United Nations, especially in cooperation with UNESCO, developed this philosophy of a culture of peace. And this year it was, I think, declared in the year 1999 on the eve of the new millennium that, and the first year was declared as the year of a culture of peace, that we should be reminded that the UN has this kind of mission to facilitate in any possible way this culture of peace. And I read a few words which are connected to this culture of peace. Respect for life, human rights, fundamental freedoms, the promotion of non-violence through education, dialogue and cooperation, commitment to peaceful settlement of conflict, and adherence to freedom, justice, democracy, tolerance, solidarity, cooperation, pluralism, cultural diversity, dialogue and understanding at all levels of societies and nations. So this means a culture of peace. You didn't hear anything about weapons. Yeah? Weapons will never create. At the end of the day, weapons have to be replaced sooner or later. And there has to be some kind of dialogue and some kind of feeling of friendship and trust. So culture of peace stands especially for dialogue and for trust. And in this spirit we want to celebrate this day and also later have a conference which will focus on the role of media and use for peace, and also at the end of this ceremony give everyone who wants can ring or hit, in this case, this peace bell, which was donated, as I understand, by the Japanese government, also to remind the people never anything like atomic bombs usage in the future history. And we know there are so many atomic bombs, and there is even now a treaty to abolish or to forbid atomic bombs, but it takes time. So it depends on people like us that we proclaim this kind of culture of peace. And it's my great honor that we have a special statement by the director of public analysis and public affair, policy analysis and public affairs of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime by Mr. Jean-Luc Lemarieux, and he will now address us. Jean-Luc Lemarieux.
You're the same height as Peter. Yes, Peter, I mean, thank you very much. It is really a pleasure to be here with you today. I am not sure if you all can hear me.
Yeah.
Those in the back don't say anything, so I assume you can hear me. So we leave it as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you today on this special occasion, the International Day of Peace. A day we dedicate to the global pursuit of harmony, understanding and unity. Needless to say that today we see a world which is fractured by conflict and division. This day today reminds us of our shared humanity and the urgent need to foster peace in all its forms. At this very moment, countless communities around the world are grappling with violence, war and suffering. From the ongoing war in Ukraine, which has devastated lives and displaced millions, to the civil unrest in Sudan, where innocent people are caught in the crossfire of political and military power struggles, and the renewed conflict in Gaza, where civilians endure immense hardship and loss and escalating violence. The toll of conflict is immeasurable. Families are torn apart by these crises, while nations remain divided by ideological and political differences. In face of such overwhelming challenges, it may seem difficult to believe that peace is possible. But it is precisely during these times now today that we need to promote as hard as ever the peace message. Peace is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice, of equality, and of respect for all. It is built on the foundations of dialogue, empathy, and cooperation. And most importantly, it requires each of us, as individuals, as a community, and as nations, to commit to creating a more compassionate world. At a time when our differences often seem larger than what unites us, we must recognize that peace can only be achieved through shared efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we must embrace diplomacy over discord, understanding over prejudice, and reconciliation over retribution. When through small acts of kindness in our daily lives or bold actions in our leadership, each of us has the power to contribute to a more peaceful world. This year's International Peace Day is dedicated to cultivating the culture of peace, marking the 25th anniversary of the UN General Assembly's adoption of the Declaration of Action on the Culture of Peace. Meanwhile, starting today in New York, the world leaders gather for the Summit of the Future, a landmark event aimed at tackling pressing challenges impacting human rights, climate change, and security, and efforts to get the Sustainable Development Goals back on track. Ladies and gentlemen, every element vital for our culture of peace is kept within the summary pact. So we only can hope that on Sunday that will be approved. Let us foster peace in our hearts, in our homes, in our nations. And let us work together to build a future where harmony, justice, and respect for human dignity are not just ideals, they become realities for us all. With this, let me thank the Vienna NGO Committee on Peace and Peter Haider for giving me the opportunity to address you, and I wish you all success in the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lemarie. I should mention today's event is organized by the NGO Committee on Peace here in Vienna, and we are organizing normally every month some kind of lecture, but we thought the International Day of Peace is our day also, so we should celebrate it in a bit bigger and more grander style. And because of this, I invited a special singer. She just arrived 1 week ago, or a few days more, from Mexico. And she lives normally here in Vienna, but also she lives in Mexico. She's a classical soprano, and she will treat us with a special melody which you definitely know. At least the Europeans, the EU citizens should know it, because it's also the anthem of the European Union. And this famous symphony, and I speak about the 9th Symphony of Beethoven, has this year its 200th anniversary of its premiere. And actually, Mrs. Naivi Martinez wanted to organize a big concert here, but as a start, she will sing the main melody, the main part, which is normally sung by a big chorus by herself. So please let us welcome Mrs. Naivi Martinez.
Thank you very much. With the next song, I want to call internationally to a cease of fire and for peace in our hearts and our nations. And I invite you all, if you know the lyrics, if you know it in your language, you are invited to sing this Freude, schöner Götter Funken, alles zusammen, all together. Freude, schöner Götter Funken, total Silentium, wir vertreten Feuertrunken, himmlisch ist dein Heiligtum, deine zu verbinden wir.
The police bell ringing in the background.